Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint the sunset landscape with some flowers in the foreground. It's a nice, colorful sky. I'm going to show you step by step how to do it from start to finish. Got my husband Mark with me.
Hey there, everybody.
He's been on chat for our live show, so if you have questions while I'm painting, you can ask those and I'll try to answer them. Let's get started. Alrighty, so this is the second in the series. The first one we did was a poppy field. It's very similar color-wise and everything to the one we're going to be doing today. So if you want to check that out, there's a link up in the upper corner, the iCards to that video. But we're going to be using a 10 by 10 inch canvas from Fredrix. This is the Pro 12 ounce Dixie canvas, cotton. It's a little bit more textured than normal, but really just use whatever canvas you've got, and you could change the aspect if you want to do it on a regular rectangular canvas too. Whatever you want to do will work, but I like the square format because it gives us more space for our sky and lots of room for our flowers, so it kind of works out. Let's go over our brushes really quick. We're going to be using a number 10 bright for the background. Actually, I think I'm going to switch to number 12. Get it a little bit bigger. Let's do number 12 bright for the background. And then I've got a couple angle brushes for some of the flower work. 3/8 inch and 1/4 inch angle. The Willows blenders, the 3/8 and 1/4 inch Willows blenders. A couple smaller rounds, the number 2 script liner and number 3 round. And the Deerfoot stipplers, 3/8, 5 inch Deerfoot stipplers. And a fan brush. So these are all down in the description, and there's a link to the brush guys where you can buy them. Thank you to Princeton, they're our brush sponsor, and they have wonderful brushes. I'm really excited to be working with them. They're awesome. Let's go over the colors really quick. We've got fluorescent magenta, Quinacridone Magenta, Cadmium Red Light, Yellow Oxide, Cadmium Yellow Light, Cadmium Yellow Medium, Phthalo Green Yellow Shade, Phthalo Blue Green Shade, Ultramarine, Dioxazine Purple, Burnt Sienna, Burnt Umber, Titanium White, and Unbleached Titanium. And then this is the glazing liquid from Golden. It's got a little bit of an extender in it, so it kind of will give us a little bit extra blending time on our sky and things. If you don't have these exact colors, just use what you've got that is similar. You just get, it might not be exactly the same as mine, but that's okay. Nobody's gonna, show up at your house.
Nobody's gonna be double checking.
Our police will not be. It's a real thing, but they,
Okay. They're a little busy this weekend.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll be all right.
All right, good.
You'll be safe. All right. So really, we're doing minimal drawing on this one. It's really going to be fairly easy. The upper horizon line is going to be up on the 3rd, and then it's going to go down to the halfway mark. So you can kind of start by marking those two, and then you're just going to kind of do a meandering line down to that spot there. I don't know if you can see that, but then in our foreground, our flowers are going to have kind of an area that's sort of mounded right here, and then there's another kind of plane that's that kind of cuts this far one kind of in half almost, up like that. Now this one probably comes up a little bit higher actually, this foreground area. Yeah. So that'll be kind of our 3 main. Really, we're going to mostly cover up all of this, but I may do kind of different colors just a little bit to let me see where those go. And then in our sky, we're going to do our clouds, but they're going to be all kind of random. So I don't really need to draw them all out. We're going to probably just go ahead and cover most of that sky and then sort of paint them in as we go. But that's pretty much it. So pretty easy. Let's start by wetting down our brush a little bit, and then I kind of wipe it on my towel to get the extra moisture off. And I'm going to pick up the white, do my brightest area in my sky first. Get that white in there, and I'm just going to put a little bit on the canvas to kind of wet it. And if you want to, it'll help if you kind of just spritz your canvas once or twice to moisten it, and that will help the paint go on a little bit easier on these first few layers. So grabbing some yellow. And I'm going to kind of work some yellow in around the sides here and underneath that white. Kind of trying to leave a little bit of white just right in here where our sun's going to be peeking out. And then that yellow doesn't go up very high, but it does kind of come down into our foreground some. So I'll go ahead and grab a little bit more of the yellow, tiny bit of green, and we'll work kind of a greenish yellow down in this area. I'm not worried too much about my horizon here. Is all going to kind of merge into one. So we want to keep these colors really close to one another in value so that this yellow in the sky kind of just blends straight down into this green. So you kind of have to squint to see where the horizon line is right over there. All right. Then as we get down closer to us, the colors are going to get more saturated and darker. I'm going to get a little bit of burnt umber just to deepen that color up a little bit. There we go.
Someone has asked what brand of paint is the fluorescent.
It's golden.
It is golden.
It's this one. And it's quite thin. It's a kind of a fluid. It doesn't say it's fluid, but it only comes in those bigger bottles. So I kind of was glad to have an excuse to use it. I haven't used it for very many tutorials, but it is a really bright, vivid color. It's really pretty. And it'll work well today for our flowers. Give it a little extra oomph. You know. What were you saying, hon?
Said like you.
What? I'm what? I missed it.
You were talking about the paint.
Uh-huh.
You were using some adjectives that more or less describe you. Vibrant and...
Okay.
I missed it. I have to go back and...
You don't even remember what you were saying either?
No,
okay.
no, I remember what I was saying. I just don't remember what you were saying. It was about you. So.
I don't remember what I was saying either, so we're going to need to keep notes, I think. All right, I'm just creating kind of some texture up in here. This is not going to be fully detailed yet, but just kind of a little something back there. And then down in here, I want to go really dark. So I'm going to grab that phthalo green, add some purple in there. There's some really dark areas down in here. And you can see I'm just kind of really smacking that paint on there. I'm not worried too much about any of the details right now. I'm just trying to get it on the canvas and just kind of smooth out these edges a little bit. These blend them in together. So don't take too much time with these undercoats. They're all going to be covered up mostly anyways. A little bit of it will show through, but for the most part, a lot of this is going to have details put on top. Okay, really just kind of smushing that paint down, really pushing it down into the canvas. This canvas is, like I said, a lot more textured than some of the other ones that I use when I use the linen canvases. They're not nearly as textured as this, so I don't have to worry about the paint penetrating down into the canvas. But this one I really have to kind of press and be a little bit more deliberate about it. Okay, so that's pretty good. That's a little bit brighter than I probably want it to, but the colors on top, we'll dull them down a little bit because they're a little bit like in your face Kelly green right now, which we don't want. Okay, gonna get a little bit more of the purple and burnt umber, and I'm just gonna go in here in a few places and just kind of using the corner of my brush, sort of lay in some darker shadow areas down in here. They do not have to make a whole lot of sense. These are just going to be little pockets that we're going to tap our flowers around. So most of it's going to be covered up. But we just kind of need some little dark areas back in here to give us some depth. Okay, I think that's going to be good. And yeah. And then let's use a little bit of this. I'm going to use the same color, just this purpley gray green here. Add a little bit of white to it. I'm going to use some of it over here where we're going to have these rocks and things. Tap in a little bit of it. And if it seems too dark, you can always grab a little bit of your white and just kind of tone it down a little bit. That's going to be closer to the color we want than that really super bright yellow green. There we go. Okay.
So hello everyone.
Hello. Yeah, we just jump right in.
It's been a week.
Mark's back.
I'm back, safe and sound.
I posted our silly texting last night in our group, Facebook group. It's just this classic exchange of text. It's like perfect. Because Mark texted, he landed, and I said, "Oh, you know, because it's late for him. He's not usually up that late, you know." And I know he's tired, so I said, "Oh, you know, good. I hope are you doing okay? Are you, what did I say? Are you okay to drive?"
Yeah.
But, and then instead of hitting the question mark, I hit the M key. Like it's the same on my phone, you know?
Yeah,
it's just, I have to hold it down a little bit long. And then I sent it without realizing that I hadn't done a question mark. It said, "Drive them." And so Mark's reply was, "I good. Okay. I can drive them."
I good to drive them.
I good to drive them.
In my best caveman-like text voice. I good.
It's just perfect. All right. So I got this color or one close to it here. This close, you know, to the yellow of the sun area here. And I'm just kind of merging this with that gray green right there. And making sure that they kind of make sense together, but it looks pretty good. Yeah, so that was our exchange last night. I had to share it with the group. It was, and then somebody was saying that they just hit the center button of whatever words pop up to
I've
reply.
Heard that being done before. Yeah.
We do "I love you" on our phones, but we do the
swiping text.
The swiping text where you don't lift your finger, and we both crap at it. So it always comes out some weird random words.
Well, it works really well if you lift your finger between words, but we just don't lift the finger when we do the whole "I love you," and it can come up with some bizarre things it thinks you're trying to say.
Yeah. So we crack ourselves up. All right. I mixed a very, very pale yellow, tiniest little bit of blue, or pale blue, tiniest little bit of phthalo blue with white here. And what are you laughing at?
Dave asked, "Everybody good 'em?"
It's going to be the new. Yeah. All questions have to end with an M instead of the question mark. I like it. I like where you're going, Dave. That's good. All right. So here again, keeping it very light and just blending these blue down into the yellow. I did not want them to turn green, so I'm really trying to keep these colors separated. And when I blended that back in, I just added white to my brush. I did not add yellow right there, and it's doing a fairly good job of it. We're going to have all kinds of clouds in this area anyway, so it doesn't have to be perfectly blended right here. Just kind of keep that in mind as you're doing this. Now as we go up higher, our color is going to get more bright and more deep. And then by the time we get to the top, it's just a really, really deep, beautiful blue. So it goes from this really pale color all the way up fairly rapidly to a really dark blue. But the undercolor is just a little bit less saturated. It's not, you can see in our reference photo, there's little peaks of a lighter blue peeking through the clouds. So we're doing that lighter blue color. We're not doing the deepest blue right now. I'm going to grab a little bit of ultramarine and go with a little bit of that in here in the upper corner. That's going to mix with that phthalo blue. I'm going to use that glazing liquid just to kind of get them to smush together a little bit. And you don't want to use too much glazing liquid when you're doing these first coats, because it'll make your paint more transparent, so it can cause it to be a little see-through in spots.
So when you come up for air, I got 3 questions for you.
Go for it.
Okay, the first question was, is there any way to mix the fluorescent colors?
No. They're pretty much, because they're so vibrant, there's really nothing that you can add to your paints to get them to that level of vibrancy. There's just not another. But the Quinacridone Magenta is close. Whoa, that was freaking out on us there. Quinacridone Magenta is pretty vibrant in of itself. So if you don't have the fluorescent, I would just use the quinacridone. I'm just adding it to my quinacridone to gonna beef up that brilliance, because these flowers are so bright.
Okay.
But yeah.
Then our next question is,
Going with a very light blue along this horizon line here. I'm gonna go right over the top of that horizon too and kind of soften that up. Go ahead. Sorry.
Could they use phthalo green blue shade instead of the yellow shade?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, just, add a little extra yellow to it or whatever. But yeah, they're basically the same base. They just have different tones. So just add a little bit of yellow and it'll be fine.
And then the final question is why did you paint the hill first, then the sky, and not vice versa?
I did it just because I had that yellow on my brush. Pretty much that was the only reason. There wasn't a real. Yeah, normally I do the sky first and then do the hill on top, but this time I just did it that way because I had that yellow in there and I didn't have to clean it out and do it a second time. So, plus that yellow from the sun really bleeds a lot into the field there, so it just made sense to do it that way. If I hadn't done yellow, I could have done the blue, do the blue sky and then kind of done the yellow around the sun. I don't know. It could have gone either way there. All right, so that's our basic undercoat there. So we're gonna have to let that dry. Let's go ahead and work on this on here while we're letting that sky darken up or dry. We can kind of work on here. I think we can get our clouds going. So I'm trying to see what that color would be. It's so I'm just going to go ahead and use the cadmium yellow medium and a little bit of yellow oxide. And I'm going to start putting in some clouds in here. It might be a little bit bright. Get a little bit of white. There we go. So I'm going to just start tapping. Now I've got my 3/8 inch angle brush here. Use a little bit of that cadmium yellow light and mix up a lighter version that's kind of the original color that we put down here. So I have a little bit of that to kind of work in to these clouds too. And then I'm seeing some purple, so I'm going to go ahead and grab some purple. It's going to neutralize. This is going to create a really dull yellow. Yep, that's the color right there. Okay. I need to get a smaller brush though. This brush is a little bit big. Let me get the 1/4 inch here. I'm going to go ahead and mix up a little bit of this Quinacridone Magenta too, because I'm seeing a little bit of that as well.
Which brush are you using?
This, I've switched to the 1/4" Willows blender. Add a little bit of Ultramarine Blue. Okay, so I have kind of a neutral pinky purple here, and then I've got the yellow purple over here. They both have yellow in them, but this one's got a little bit more of that pink color that's up in our sky. And I'm just going to kind of work it in here, and I'm going to use a lot of glazing liquid because I want it to stay fairly kind of soft, transparent. Just tapping it over. This is going to work well, I think. And this one, I'm going to try to kind of keep the clouds fairly simple like we did on this one. They're a little bit looser than some of the other clouds we've done, so I'm going to try to kind of match the style of that other painting to this one since they're kind of coordinating paintings. So on that one, I think I used a lot of the glazing liquid. It kind of did wet into wet clouds, where I did a lot of, you know, put down a little bit of one color and then grab another color and kind of smush them together as they're wet. So I'm gonna try doing that here. I'm gonna grab some of that yellowy purple now. I'm gonna go back in here with that and kind of push that into the bottoms and around the sides of this sunset area. And it's okay if we go a little bit dark, because what we're going to do is we're going to cover this back over with a glow of yellow, so it's going to tone everything down, but we kind of need this color underneath for it to work. And I just want to get the color that's, I'm really looking at the color that's just above the glow, because it was kind of hard to tell what that color is since there's so much yellow in it. If I went just above it where it's starting to show some color, and it's this kind of color here, so that's why I chose that color. I'm gonna grab a little bit more purple, start to add a little bit of more saturated purple here. It's still got a lot of light color in it, so if it's getting too dark, you can add a little. We're going to go very gradually into a darker colors, so don't go too dark right yet. There we go. So just gradually strengthening that color a little bit as we go away from the sun. I'm going to use this color all in here. And these colors kind of, are these clouds sort of working kind of horizontally, and then they're sort of angled up this way a little bit. This part in the middle is kind of almost coming straight up, but it's still kind of, they all sort of are having this kind of side to side motion. So if you you know, just keep that in mind, and when you're putting in your clouds, if you kind of just do this little side to side jiggle here, it'll kind of help that feeling of the overall shape that we're going for. Okay, keeping it fairly light here. And then I've noticed that I've pretty much covered up my blue sky. So I'm going to get some more of that phthalo blue, that's the sky color. Get a lot of white, so keep it subtle. I'm just going to go back in here while that's wet and just kind of smush some of that blue back in around my clouds, soften it all up. There's some sort of mountain right in here, but I'm not going to put that. I'm just going to kind of leave it sort of a flat and just smoosh that blue sky into the green there. Are you laughing? What are you laughing at?
Smoosh.
Smoosh. technical art term.
Yeah, you're jiggling over there and smooshing.
We're very lots of technical art terms here. You're gonna learn today, so just keep that in mind. Okay, adding back in some of this blue that I kind of have covered up.
I like the wallpaper on your computer.
The lemons, the Benga lemons.
Yeah, I like that. I'm surprised that one hasn't got more views.
Me too. I love that painting. It was one of my favorite tutorials.
So don't. One thing you need to learn is don't ask me what to paint.
Yeah.
Because like I like the lemons and it didn't. There's not a lot of views on it.
Yeah, you like the tank.
The tank.
The tank. Yeah.
There's none that.
The tank is still pretty much winning for the worst performing video I've ever done.
Most thumbs down.
Most thumbs down, least views ever. It still hasn't broken like 3,000, I think, which is like even my oldest videos have beat that. You know.
Even the one where you're off camera like for a half hour.
Exactly.
That's still beating it.
Still beating it. Okay, mixed up some gray with the blue, ultramarine blue, and burnt umber here. Yep.
You can be painting a flower off camera and still get more views than the tank.
Well, you got to think of my audience, though. We just like flowers, so it's just.
So next time you have to paint it in the field, why don't you just drop a tank in this painting here?
Wouldn't be too different from your game. There's all kinds of flowers and fields and stuff flowers. In your game that you play. All right, I'm going to see if I can get some of this green that was in this field up here. Looks like it's coming up here. A little bit of it. Add some yellow. Yeah, there we go.
There's some people.
Getting some glazing liquid here. So I added this gray kind of just along this horizon line to kind of obscure it a little bit more, soften that whole thing. What were we saying? Some people
really enjoy the tank. There's a lot of families out there that have
military.
Sons and
oh yeah, I wouldn't not have painted it. I enjoyed it. So no, I'm not saying that. It's just funny to me that.
How do the fishing lures do?
No, not well. Not well. I have seen several people paint them though. So it's funny. I have some videos that are popular that people don't paint that often. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then I have other videos that are not as popular, but that people tend to paint a lot. That I see a lot of their paintings. So I don't know if people are just not sharing the other ones or what. I don't know, but it's just funny to me that some of these videos that I bet we'll get a lot of people actually painting the tanks. Because they're like, oh, finally a tank painting. I've been looking for one, All right, so I'm using the same purple in the sky down here just a little bit because there's a little bit of it in this area here on our field. I do want to make sure that I do have just a slight difference in the color of my field here. Not really liking that too much yet. We'll get it there. I can probably turn off the fan now. They left the fan on. The air conditioner guy did on. I don't know if you saw that, but
it's not. It's cycling.
It's cycling. Mm-hmm. Okay. Good. We had a nice mess yesterday, the air conditioner. All right, I am going to get some more of this yellow-green here from the field. It's right down here. It's kind of a little bit more of the green. I'm just going to kind of come up this way and merge those two together again. So, anytime I've got like two edges meeting and I don't need a solid line there, if I want them to kind of be soft and blended together, the best way is just to kind of start with the color that's over here and then push it up into the other color. I'd brought that one down into it already, so then I need to kind of push back and add some of that color back in. Okay, so there we go. All right, starting to look good. This is going to look really nice back here in the distance. It's got some of that blue from the sky in there, and it's got the yellow as well. I'm going to put a little bit more blue from the sky just along that top line there. It's a really good way of pushing your mountains back, is just putting some sky color along the farthest mountains, and then it will immediately push them back into the sky. And they'll also be close to the same, if you want them really, really distant, getting them really close to the same color as your sky helps too, the same value as your sky. Whatever it is along that horizon line. I like to use a lighter color along that horizon line, almost white, and then match my mountains to that same value. It really helps push that perspective back. Okay, I'm spending a lot of time on this, but this part, because I just want to get this part right. This is going to be the trickiest part right in here, where you're transitioning from this really bright color into the sky, and we're going to have these super deep shades up here. So I'm just spending a little extra time making sure that I'm getting this quite right before we move on. So, all right, so let's grab some more of that pinkish color. That's our clouds there, and I'm just going to tap some back in here. This was the purple with a little bit of yellow. The yellow just desaturates it, it's getting a lot of the yellow. It's purple up here, the yellow and the yellow sky and the purple clouds are meeting here, and they're kind of turning this kind of desaturated purple right in just this area. And then it's going to be like boom, bright. Okay. So pretty happy with that. So let's go ahead and start to really add in our darkest sky area. So I'm going to go ahead and use the largest of our Deerfoot stipplers. I'm not going to add water to it. Just going to come over here. I think I'm going to just use Ultramarine Blue. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's kind of a purpley blue, and I'm using a little bit more paint than I would normally use because this area is almost fully covered, so I'm just going to put the paint on there and smush it around and try to leave some of these little pockets of light blue showing through here and there. Not as much on this side as over here. There's a lot more of the light blue showing through over here, but just kind of trying to keep it soft looking, and using that glazing liquid will help. See how it's softened up that edge there. Okay, and then as we get down here, it's going to kind of start to go a little bit flatter. And using that barely any color in my brush now. Just using it to kind of scrub into that area there. All right. Let's get a little bit more of that. And if I don't want the kind of dry brush look, I can get a little bit of the glazing liquid and just kind of smoosh over the top. But you want to make sure that your paint is not drying, because if you smush over paint that's drying, let's do it over here purposefully so you can see what I'm talking about. So if you put an area on, it's starting to dry, and then you go back over it too soon, what'll happen is you'll just pull that color right off, and you'll end up with this kind of halo effect. So just kind of know that going in. You just want to, if you're work in small areas and just kind of work slowly into one area into another. Make sure your edges are soft and blendy before you move on to the next section. Just try to keep, even up in here where I've, put down color, but I haven't, finished with it. I'm trying to make sure that my edges stay soft and blendy so that I don't have to work to cover over some sort of really big blob of thick paint or area that's got a really sharp line that I have to blend out. So, oh, wow, that paintbrush does not like me moving around so fast. That camera is like, what is happening? All right, so let's grab a little bit of white, just a tiny bit. I've added a little bit of purple to my brush. A little tiny bit of white. I'm going to take most of that off. Yeah, see, that's kind of starting to dry there, so I don't need to mess with it. I can work in this area over here because it's still... And this brush is probably getting to be too big. I don't want to cover up all this blue in here, so I'm just going to kind of bring it right up to that area and leave a little bit of blue in between here, and then I'll blend it out here in a little bit. Okay, so dark purple, leaving these kind of patches of lighter areas in here. It's going to look kind of patchy at first. That's fine.
Okay, if somebody doesn't have a Deerfoot stippler,
okay,
what could they use?
You could use a Filbert brush or something like that. If you've got an older brush that you don't mind beating up, getting kind of messed up, or if you have like these brushes are really cheap. These hog bristle brushes, they're a similar texture, and they do a really good job of that kind of scrubby stuff. So that would be a good option. I'm going to get the Willows blender. I'm going to get the 3/8 inch Willows blender here, and we're going to work on this merge between these two colors. So I'm going to get some of the quinacridone and mix that with that color that was here, and then get a little bit of the blue. Oh, turn her off. That was Alexa. She likes to listen in on what we're saying and comment from time to time, random. Nobody was talking to you. When we first got her, I could swear that she knew, that she didn't like me because she never ever responded when I told her to do stuff. And then Mark would say, to do the same exact thing that I was just saying, then she'd do it. Really?
You know what I just thought of?
What?
That comment you had a few weeks ago about, getting rid of me or moving out? Maybe that was Alexa.
She was leaving an automatic comment.
Yeah. Oh, I guess it would be the other way. It'd be
exactly. Exactly. It would totally be the other way. She'd be like, why is that lady talking so much? That's what it would be. My email newsletter last night went out. And by the way, if you want to get on our newsletter list, you can go to our website, thethankfulheart.com. And there's a little newsletter section where you can sign up. But I sent out the email yesterday, so Mark's home, back from his trip and ready to annoy all the haters with his
voice.
with his banter or something like that. Yeah. Distracting banter. That's what I were saying. We get so many weird comments about, I don't know what people think I can't do this by myself. Like there's no, I can't do it without him. And I'm not going to make him sit over there and not talk to me while I'm painting for 2 hours. So it's kind of rude. So
and
sorry.
I can't do this art channel without you either.
True. It's a win-win.
It's a symbiotic. Is that what it is? Relationship?
Not sure.
Sounded scientific.
All right, so I'm just trying to kind of work in slowly this pink to blue up in through here. So just kind of adding a little bit more saturated color down lower as I go down. And every now and then I'm going to grab a little bit of that blue if I can get some that's still wet. Just pop a little bit of that back in. Okay, we're getting there. I think one of the things that people do with clouds that messes them up is they use too much paint. And they put too much on at one time. They try to, get it all on there, and then they end up looking solid. With clouds, you really have to kind of have these fuzzy edges, soft transitions between colors for them to kind of look right. Your brain just kind of doesn't interpret them as clouds otherwise, unless your whole painting is very stylized that way, then it works. But if it's just trying to get some realism out of it, it's definitely you need to kind of go slow and just work small sections and slowly build up your colors. And I'm going to use a little bit of glazing liquid, and that glazing liquid will again thin it out, kind of make it more transparent looking, kind of more like a cloud-like type thing. This sky is a little bit more complicated than our other one. Our other one was just kind of little white clouds with some gray in them. This one's got a lot of color changes, so this one's probably a little bit more difficult than the poppy field sky, I would say. But still doable if you just kind of take it in steps. Like I said, it's not... And just kind of watch your transitions, work those transitions out between one color and another.
Okay, we got 2 questions.
Okay.
The first one is somebody would like you to just show the kind of the tip of your brush if you can before you go in, just to show, if it's possible, how much paint you have on your brush.
Yeah, I will.
And then is there any one brush that's best for clouds, or is it different brushes for different textures?
I really like the Willows blenders. I've only recently started using them. I used to use primarily the Deerfoot stipplers, but these ones are stiffer. And so then the Deerfoot, they're not as floppy, and they don't get, when you get them wet, they don't get floppy like the Deerfoot stipplers do. So I find that they're a little bit better, because you really can get in here and scrub with it. All right, so there's you can see that the tip of it is kind of separated out. There's not a whole lot of paint on there. So if you have so much paint on there that you can't see the tip, that it's like that much, you've got too much on there, at least for this technique. There might be other reasons, but that's about how you want it. You want it to be so that you can see the separation in the bristles before you go out here. And that might even be too much because okay. Good. Now this color on top of that blue that we put down earlier is going to create and you can see how I was able to cover that spot. It's not in the end of the world if that happens to you. The best thing to do is just stop. Don't try to cover it right away. Just let it dry, and then you can cover it really easily. But if you keep messing with it, then that's when you get even worse trouble, because then it'll just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and causes a lot of issues. So And then it'll be much harder to cover because you got a huge area to cover. If you just got a little small round area that's just, you know, got to be touched up, that's not a big deal. Okay, so going in here with the Quinacridone and Ultramarine Blue mixture, just really adding some deep pockets of purple. Right along that hillside. And get a little bit of white and start to add in some of our lighter cloud areas. So we've got most of the blue in there now, almost the right color. Saturation. So we're going to kind of start with the medium pink. I'm not going to go in with the brightest pink right away, and sort of gradually build up our layers until we get to that bright, vivid reddish pink color. Okay. And this color is kind of blending into this other color over here, so I can grab some of the Ultramarine Blue, a little bit of glazing liquid. Work that back in. It's starting to come along. Let's add some Phthalo Blue and Ultramarine Blue together. That'll give us a little bit more of a royal blue. I'm gonna grab some glazing liquid. Right. So just working in these really bright, vivid blue clouds into our sky. Using lots of glazing liquid and making sure that it's blending well with the rest of the surroundings. We're basically just glazing a little color on top of what we've already got going on in the sky now. Deepening up the shadows on our cloud on the back side of this one where it's got that pink. The top of it is really dark.
Got another question for you.
Okay.
The person said they noticed that in your earlier videos you were using a styrofoam plate to mix your colors, and now you switched to the gray matters.
Did.
And they would like to know if you've noticed anything different in as far as the ability to mix colors. Does it help you see the values better, or?
Yes, that gray I think really does help to see the values better. Yeah, that's why it's tinted the way it is. And you can get the same effect if you are using like a white or a like clear glass palette. I've seen artists will paint the back side of the glass with gray paint just so that it has the same effect. I've considered doing that. I may end up doing that just once I get through all of these palettes. I already have a bunch that I bought ahead of time, but I thought I might try doing it on glass. So I just have less waste. I was using foam for a while because when I was doing my classes, my kids' classes, and was traveling a lot, it helped because I would end up with a lot of waste paint. Kids would put out a lot of paint on their palettes, and I would be able to just throw those paint palettes into a baggie and take them home and then kind of consolidate the colors back in. But I ended up using them. I just ended up with a bunch of plates and baggies everywhere in my studio. I was just like, I need to just get rid of these. I didn't need them. I'm in a new phase now.
We could have sold them.
Yeah.
Some of them were works of art.
We still have a bunch of them out, and I did save some of them.
We'll sign the back of them and send them out.
There we go. All right, so adding some of this lighter blue back in now, and this is going to kind of soften up. I'm looking for these areas where there's kind of like fuzzy. I don't want the kind of dry brush look. I want it to kind of be a little bit more blended, so I'm kind of looking for those areas and just kind of pop in a little bit of this bright blue in, and I'm going to do it right along this horizon line just to kind of soften that whole area up. But the light blue kind of ends right about in here, and then it's pretty much dark all up through there. Get a little bit of white, and there's some areas that are almost white, so I'm gonna pop in a little bit of that. But this is looking pretty good. I think we're getting closer to the way we want it. So up in here I'm gonna get some of this, and this is the same Ultramarine Blue and Phthalo Blue mixture. I've just added white to it, so now I'm going in here and adding it up in my sky, back up in here. And then what I can do is grab the Ultramarine Blue mixture that's right there and go in next to it and kind of soften up that transition a little bit. I tend to do this. I tend to do several layers. I'll cover up, put the undercoat. By the time you're finished, you're pretty much only going to see tiny little glimpses of that undercoat that we originally did, because you're going back and forth so much. But that's what gives your painting a lot more depth and things. So don't feel like you have to get it covered with one layer. That's what I was saying before with clouds. I think the more, especially with clouds, the more layers, the richer and deeper they'll look. So, I mean, you can overdo it, obviously. With any painting, you can kind of overwork it. But I think we're doing okay here.
So we had a question.
Okay.
They would like to know, do you just look at a picture and know how to do this technique that you're doing?
It's pretty much, just experience having done it before. But, I mean, there's things that I've not painted, that I have to figure out. So, I mean, what were we painted recently that I had never painted before? I can't remember. But there's lots of things I haven't painted.
A tank.
Yeah, exactly. No. But, yeah, I mean, I just kind of, I try to figure out what technique would work.
The koi fish?
Yeah, I hadn't painted koi. Yeah, like water reflections and things like that. I haven't, before I started teaching on YouTube, I hadn't done a whole lot of that. So that's been kind of new and fun. So it is kind of fun for me. The nice thing about art is that, well, it's not a hard and fast rule. There's so many different ways to approach it. There's dozens of different ways that I could have painted this from this reference photo. And, you get 12 artists and give them this reference photo, and not one of their paintings is going to look quite the same, And that's the beauty of art, I think. It's just that we all kind of see things a little bit differently, and kind of sharing our vision of the world with other people.
So at 13 artists, then we're going to see one that looks the same?
If there's 13 there.
Okay, so that's
it
cut off.
It starts to repeat after that. Be quiet. It's being very deep here. You're ruining it. Saying very artsy things.
My engineering brain just caught on to that. Like, oh, there's a magic number here.
there a formula for that?
Exactly. We can write a macro to figure that out.
Can we? Yeah. Is there a spreadsheet we can?
Ooh, we could put that in a spreadsheet. These pivot tables.
Okay.
This is a part where you're going to get hate mail.
Right about now is when you're starting to piss them off.
55 minutes into the show. That's
check. Score. 1 for Mark. Sorry. That was funny. Alrighty. I feel like I still can go a little bit darker on the sky here, but I'm going to go ahead and put in our bright areas, and then we'll be able to see kind of the contrast a little bit where we might want to still add some. So I'm going to use the Quinacridone Magenta and the Cadmium Red Light to make this beautiful salmon color. It's basically, depending on, you know, how much of the orange we leave in, and we're going a little bit more on the orange side than the pink side. If you mix them 50-50, you're going to get like cadmium red. Basically, it's going to be just a red. And then depending on how much pink you add, or the magenta you add, you'll get a little bit more of pink red, like a cherry red. And then the more of the cadmium red light, you'll get a more orangey red like this. So it's one of my favorite, oh, isn't that pretty? One of my favorite color combinations to mix is these two colors. And you really don't need any other reds besides these two. You can mix up just about any red that you want from these two, just these two colors. I do use cadmium red medium sometimes just because it's convenient, but I still kind of prefer mixing these reds because I can get all of these kind of different color variations with it. Oh, isn't that pretty? Something about this orange against that blue is just so vibrant. I think it's because they're opposite on the color wheels. You get that really interesting, much more vivid contrast. Very pleasing. Okay. Yay. I like it. This is the fun part. So we kind of laid all the groundwork, and now we're kind of getting to see, okay, sort of the reveal, you know. You're like, you waited, and then you get the payoff. This is where it starts to really get looking neat.
Got another question for you.
Mm-hmm.
This is concerning the undercoat.
Yes.
And it says, do you recommend doing a full undercoat like yellow ochre or other earth tone,
yes,
if they find it hard to cover white in the canvas?
100% yes. And I used to do that when I was doing studio paintings. I almost never started with the white canvas. I would either do a dark brown or a yellow ochre, like a burnt umber or yellow ochre. Those are the two, yellow oxide, were the two colors that I would use on most of my paintings. Sometimes a Quinacridone Magenta, depending on how, you know, if I wanted something really vibrant. But for the most part, those were the two that I would choose, and they work really, really well. Like this would have been really lovely with the yellow oxide background first, because the blues, when you put the blues over the top of that yellow tint, it really pulls the color out in the blues. It's really pretty. You would think it would tint it orange or green, but it doesn't. It's just really has this beautiful warm glow underneath your sky. So yeah, I'm lazy, so that's why I don't do it anymore, but I really probably ought to, because I do really like the look of that. And every now and then I get the urge and I'll do it ahead of time when I'm doing these paintings, but it's just extra step that I usually don't take, and then people freak out when I start the painting and it's already painted a color. And the first half of the show is just like, what color is it? You know, like you have an answer. So. Alrighty, I'm really liking this. Okay, so when we get down into here, of course, it's going to get a lot more yellow. So I'm going to grab some yellow and add that to it. And use it along the bottom here. And these are, you know, all these light areas are the areas of the clouds that are catching the light because they're closer to the sun, or they're sticking out and they're getting caught by that light. So it's going to pull them forward visually. Okay, and then I need to get some yellow, some white here with my Quinacridone Magenta mixture and the yellow, cadmium yellow light. I'm going to go really bright right in here. I'm going to get a little bit of the glazing liquid just to kind of soften that up so it's not super solid looking. Leave a little bit of that darker color showing through, but right along that leading edge where it's closest to the sun, I want to have that brighter color there. And then there's just a few log pops of it over here. See how pretty that is? Okay. We are almost done. We need one more layer, at least one more of the highlight color on our clouds here, but this is pretty close to where we want it. Grab a little bit more of that quinacridone, or the cadmium red light here. Let's put a little bit of that in. Ooh, that's bright. Magenta. A little bit of this yellow color there. Light pink. How you doing, hon?
I'm doing good.
I can hear you over there, kind of.
Yes, because people have started chatting about the Patreon video tomorrow.
Ooh, yes.
And it's going to be on Crowdcast.
Right.
So you have to, if you're a Patreon member, the $5 level and higher, then you'll have a link to go to Crowdcast.
Yes, and you need to, well, if you want to, you can register ahead of time so that it'll send you a link to the show. You'll already be kind of pre-registered. I think that's how it works. I don't know. I know that some of them work that way. So
yeah, and I think it'll do a reminder for you also.
Right,
send you an email.
Yeah.
And so this is a new platform to us.
Yes.
The last month it went very well.
It did.
And we had to use it for the tank video when YouTube crashed that night. But and then Angela uses the Crowdcast for her Thursdays taking flight group.
Yeah, I've been doing that this month and it's worked out really well.
But what we're finding is that people are having some minor difficulties in just, getting in and on the different platforms. So if you are listening live, post in chat, what are you watching Crowdcast on? Is it a computer? Is it a tablet? And I'm going to try to put together some kind of tutorials to help people know where to click and what to do.
To make the screen the right size.
Right.
And that kind of thing.
Yep. So if it's an Android device or go.
not happy about that right there, so I'm gonna work on that a little bit more. Okay, so now I want to get my blue. I'm going to use the glazing liquid, and I'm going to get some purple actually. Get the Quinacridone Magenta. A little bit more magenta than blue. There we go. Glazing liquid. Having a hard time finding a clean spot here. And I'm going to glaze over the edges of this cloud here, just to soften up those edges and transition it into that darker cloud. You see how that's really settling in the cloud now? It's not like looking like it's pasted on top. Definitely need it up in here because there's a lot of pink in this cloud here that we don't have going on yet. I did see one thing somebody was asking about, you know, kind of like if you look at a photo and you, how do you know, what to do with it. I did see a thing the other day, and I thought it was a really good point that the person was pointing out the kind of photos, you know, that she was like, you know, I have hundreds of photos of roses on my computer that I've taken, but probably out of that group, only 5 maybe are suitable for painting. And I think that's one thing that that a beginner artist has a hard time knowing is kind of what, and I do photo contests from time to time, and I'm always amazed at how many really not poor quality, but just poor choice type, like a lot of painting or a lot of photos are posted that are just not suitable at all for using in a painting. And I think that that's one thing that you develop fairly early. I need to probably just kind of go over some examples sometime in one of the videos of just like what I look for, but definitely like contrast is one of the main things. You've got to have really good contrast between your colors. You've got light and dark areas so that you can build up some depth. Otherwise your paintings just look flat. And a lot of that has to do with the painting or the photograph that you start with, you know. So, all right. I don't know why I got on that subject, but okay. I'm gonna grab, my paints are really drying fast today. A little bit more of the light pink color. I'm gonna get a little bit of the make that salmon color that was the original color that we started with here, and just add a little bit of white to it. And then I'll go back in and go back over for one more time. I've got that glazing liquid on there now still, and it's still kind of fresh. So I can go in here and touch up and add little bits of really bright area. I'm going to get some really bright. Make sure, there we go. Kind of on the bottoms and far sides, I'm kind of adding some more of this brighter, darker, deeper color. And then as it gets closer to this, it's really the lighter values that we're seeing.
You still got the Willow's blender in your hand, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sure do. Alright, let's use some white here. My yellow. Again, I still have that other color in my brush, so it's tinting it a little bit with the orangey salmon color. And this time I'm going a little thicker with the paint here because I want it to be opaque. So, but I'm really doing a very, very light touch. I'm not scrubbing it now. I'm just barely tapping it onto the canvas. It's going to come off a little bit thicker, and that using the texture of the brush to my advantage. It's going to have a little bit of a softness just because of the texture of the brush. So weird, I just noticed that I'm painting with my hand on my hip. Like it's...
You do it a lot.
I know. I know. I've noticed that recently.
You get some attitude going.
I do. I like get my hand on my hip and I'm like sitting in my chair with my hand on my hip. So weird.
That is called akimbo.
Uh-huh. Yep.
It's one of the vocabulary words I remember from grade school. I have no idea why, but...
It's one of the few words that you remembered.
Well, yeah, because why would you even have a word for that, but okay.
It's true. Okay, so I think... we're getting close here. I'm just kind of using the wispy edge here to kind of draw out a few little patterns. Let's use the deeper pinks again. I feel like this whole area got a lot bigger than in my painting, my reference photo. It got really large. Right there, that's okay. It doesn't have to be exactly the same.
You're one of those 12.
One of the 12 of what? Oh, yeah, mine's different. Exactly. Okay. Definitely need to work on this area because this is just all like a big blob of whatever. Get some magenta here. I'm going to work some of that into the cloud above. All right, now I want to get that purple color going again, so I want to add a little bit of yellow to this and a little bit of my blue from my sky. So I've got quinacridone and blue, touch of yellow, and a lot of white. Come under here. I need a lot. Let's get a little bit of purple. There we go. Grabbing that glazing liquid just to make it a little softer. Now I'm going back into these clouds here and kind of around my yellow clouds, putting back in some of these original clouds that we had going on. With that purple tone. We've covered most of them up with other things now, so I'm just kind of tapping them back in. Like in here, I need Quinacridone Magenta and purple here. I need to
Is that a 9x9 or 12x12?
10x10. None of the above.
That was so close.
You were super wrong. Okay, ultramarine blue here. Just punching up the deep blues sections. And this is the point where you're painting, you're going to just have to kind of see what yours is looking like, and you may not need to do some of these steps, so just kind of see where yours is at. You may already have your dark blues dark enough. Might need a little extra juice here. Some white with that ultramarine blue. get that phthalo blue and white mixture that's our background sky color. Just add some dabs of that back in. One more time. Wipe my brush off, get a little glazing liquid, and just kind of go around the sides of them and tap them out. And then if I get more white here as I get closer to the sun here. Okay, we're still going to be putting yellow over the top of all this, so it doesn't have to look exactly the right color yet. We're just trying to see what value I need to get in here. I need some little bit darker values in my clouds around my sun here, so that when we do that yellow over the top, they'll still be slightly visible. Okay, we're almost, I need to stop because we've been working on this sky for forever. How much time? Over an hour. Hour and a half. Yeah. Wrap it up, Ange. It's definitely a lot more complicated than the sky that we did for the poppies. It's just got a lot of colors going on in it. So, all right, let's do a little bit more of that blue. A little purple and magenta, some white. All kinds of colors going on here. And the white and my blue. Sky. Getting some of that bright blue, got some white here. I'm just going to glaze in a little bit of it back in a couple places before I do my final layer of yellow in this area here.
So if you're watching live,
Mm-hmm.
and you subscribe if you haven't already, jump into chat for marriage advice.
Marriage advice?
Yep. It was food earlier. Now we're jumped over to marriage advice.
Like
Yep. So
what's the advice?
what's the secret to a long marriage?
The wife saw is right? Is that... No?
I said don't sweat the small stuff, but I guess it depends on your perspective.
I thought you were being sarcastic. Okay, that's more like you were being real.
Mm-hmm. No, but you were being real too.
That's good. Mark's much better about not sweating the small stuff than I am.
Just for you ladies out there, just be amused when the man thinks that he's in charge. just make him say, "Oh, that's cute."
Every now and then.
Yeah.
Let him make him think he's in charge.
Right. Give him the remote control that has no batteries in it and make him feel like he's running the TV.
All right, back in here with some blue. Yeah. All right, so we're getting right at the end here. Just got a little bit of purple in it. Lots of blue, darker blue here. And I just put in all that light blue, so it's still wet, and so this has got a little bit of glazing liquid in it. It's softly kind of smushing these colors together. There we go.
You're doing awesome over there.
I am.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. You can hear my sighing.
Oh, you're doing awesome over there too.
What was saying that on the inside?
Oh, thanks, honey. I appreciate that.
I was wondering why you were saying that, but now I get it. You're doing awesome, honey. Good job. Just need a pat on the back. I get it. Okay. I'm just trying to find the right balance here. I went to a smaller brush. I think that was part of the problem. Alright, and then I'm going to get some more of this pinky salmon color. Lots of white. little bit of yellow. And then let's use a little bit of glazing liquid. I'm going to glaze back in some of those bright clouds that were down here that I kind of covered up. There we go. I just felt like it was too solid in here, so I kind of put that blue back, the light blue back in, so that I could go back in here and just be a little bit more strategic about the highlighted clouds here. I am running out of spots on here very quickly. I can't find any clean spots. Yellow. There we go. That's a good color. Okay, so we're going to let that all dry, and then we'll work on our fields and get those finished, and then at the very end we'll be adding our yellow glow. So alright, I'm happy with that pretty much. Okay, I'm gonna stop. I think I'm happy with that. One other thing I'm noticing up here. Stop. Mark always teases me. Be quiet. Just don't look over here. It's okay. I've noticed that there's... Just mind your own business.
I see everything twice.
It's fine. Nothing going on. Just gonna break up that little area there. It's just like too much of a solid color. Okay. We'll have to glaze back over that a little bit, but okay. This Quinacridone Magenta here. Just kind of glazing a little bit of it back in. Alright, much better. Use a little bit of that Ultramarine Blue and Phthalo Blue strong with just a little bit of the glazing liquid in it, and I'm gonna set back in those light blues that I just added just by going over them with a little bit of this glaze. just the sides of them. So anytime you've got a new color that you're adding, you know, on top and it doesn't feel like it's working right, you know, or just doesn't feel like it's like settled, then you can do this trick and just kind of add a little glaze. And all it is just, you know, the thinned out background color, and it will really unify your painting. Add a little glaze of the purple up here where we want it darker. Just a little bit. Kind of up in those upper corners there. Yeah. Good, good, good. All right, let's use a little bit of it over here. And I'm going to call that good. Let's work on our field now. And I think I'm going to go ahead and use this brush still. And we'll just grab a little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of yellow oxide here, tiny bit of our green, and some of the unbleached titanium. Gonna make a light beige color with just a touch of green, and I'm gonna start to kind of just scrub it in this back area. Leave it, let it kind of skip around the canvas to tint our fields here. And if you need to, you can bring it up. You might use a little bit of gray up there. The ultramarine blue and burnt umber mixed with some of this unbleached titanium and just a touch of green. Again, we're using that sky color with the ultramarine blue added. And I want to get a value that's fairly close to the sky color there. There we go. I'm just going to go along that edge. What are you laughing at? Spray bottle hissing.
Just the way that spray bottle reverberates through the microphone.
Oh, does it?
You go down.
Okay, so there we go. This is good. Gray green, desaturated. Kind of almost teal. It's got a little bit of blue from the sky in it. And I'm just going to tab it around here, and it's going to mix with the colors that we've got going on. Let's add a little bit more blue and do a few little spots of kind of blue, bluish. Bushes or whatever. Use some of that. get closer to the sun, I'm kind of adapting it, adding a little bit more of this lighter color here. Just the Quinacridone Magenta, or not Quinacridone, the Unbleached Titanium. Okay, and then there is some of this green, so I want to cover all of it up. Just mix up some of that, a little bit of yellow. Let's use the yellow oxide, it'll kind of keep it more neutral. There we go. So I'm literally just kind of skimming my brush along here and letting it catch on the canvas in some places.
We have a paint question. Somebody would like to know if you found that some brands of paint dry faster than others.
Yes, they do. Yeah, and I found that the craft paints dry really fast. They don't do well for blending techniques. Especially when you thin them down, they almost, they like when you add water to them, they almost dry immediately as soon as you put them on the canvas, so they just don't work really well for if you're trying to blend them. Okay, let's just thin this out a little bit, and I'm just scrubbing it side to side here, just getting all that color out onto my canvas. Let's grab a little bit of the yellow, add that to that green, phthalo green mixture that I made earlier with the yellow oxide. As I get closer to the sun, I want it to be more yellow. So now I'm going to I worked that color down in here. Now I'm going to push it back. I'm going to work this color on top of that. Let's grab some white so it's even more bright. There we go. So we want to get the colors close to that original color as we can. Doesn't have to be the same, but just close so that we can kind of smush it in, and even if that other color shows through, it'll still kind of blend together. But then I'm gonna carry it up back in here and just add some dabs of it in some places. And then we've got this kind of distant area back here, and then we've got the kind of middle ground right here that's all kind of rocky. So we're going to be adding some gray tones in there. Get a little bit more of the green. And use some burnt sienna. Yeah, that's good. Here we go. Okay, so just creating kind of little random stuff. Just add some areas in here of kind of shadow. We'll add our rocks in there around them, but it's good. Let's go ahead and use some of this color coming down into our foreground. And we will be adding a lot of yellow over the top, again, when we do the glow. So we can get some more of that yellow color here and kind of start it out. Get it as close to the color, finish color that we want. with just a little bit of a deeper color so that when we put the yellow on it, it's got a little depth. All right. There's a lot of questions there at first, but nobody's asking questions anymore. That's good.
Why is the sky blue?
Don't know. Do you know?
I think I do. It's the refraction of the light. The blue is reflected more through our atmosphere. That's why you see it.
Okay, smarty pants.
And if not, then I have no idea. Don't listen to us for facts, people, please. Like, don't go on Jeopardy and try to answer the question that way.
Baby eyes were the same size as adult eyes in one of the videos, but it's not true. They're 2/3 the same size, so they are bigger than. They're almost fully mature, but the first 2 years they mature to almost their full, and then they go through another growth spurt at puberty or something. So, anyhow. I looked that up after I told people the wrong thing.
That's okay.
Nobody called me on it, though. They were all like, yeah, that sounds about right. So.
What's that comedian?
Nate Ragazzi.
Yeah.
He'll go to cities. He's a comedian. He'll go to the cities and he'll be like, yeah, so Minnesota's the St. Paul is the what?
The capital of something.
Oh, what was it? Well, now it's not as funny if we were trying to retell it.
But everybody in the audience was like,
yeah, that sounds right.
I think I knew that.
It's like the popcorn capital of the world. And they're like, yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm kidding, but sounds right, doesn't it?
So somebody gave you a 67% for being 2/3 right.
Barely passing.
Barely.
Hey, it's still what is that, a D?
Yeah.
D plus? Okay, I'll take it. All right, so now just adding, you can see how I've done. I've kind of, I'm just adding kind of some texture in here. There's not going to be a whole lot of detail because it's all going to be kind of washed out by that sun. So I don't want to have like really focused, detailed stuff back in here. I just want kind of like the indication of something happening, but it's all very, very close in value. So keep all of this kind of very kind of close in value and distinct. And now I'm going to grab some white here. And I go along this line here and just kind of soften that up because it's getting like a line there, and it's not actually a line right there. It's this kind of rounded. I'm getting the green up in the sky too, which I don't really want to do, but it's okay. You see how I did there? Just soften that up. And let's pull it out here. Let's just go ahead and kind of, like we do on water, you know, how we kind of hit the water with the highlights coming out from the sun. We're going to do that here. Just kind of come out and catch some little pockets. These pockets are going to be raised up and it'll give us depth. So as we get closer to the sun, they're going to be closer together and kind of more solid. And then as we get over here, they're going to be more distinct, and we can kind of give them some texture, and we'll be able to see the difference in the grasses. Like right in here, there's some grasses that are kind of sticking out that are kind of more solid. And always kind of just scrubbing out that back end of them so that they kind of blend in. Let's get some burnt umber. Picked up a little bit of phthalo blue there. Burnt sienna, burnt umber, phthalo blue, phthalo green. Let's start building in some texture from the bottom up here. And these fields are pretty, they're not very like grassy. The only time we're seeing the grass is real close down here. So pretty much all up in here it's just kind of these sort of fuzzy looking stuff. We're not even really seeing a lot of grass texture. It's like brush or something, like a low growing brush. So use some glazing liquid. And just leave some pockets of the lighter color so that it kind of pops those up and forward. But I'm just going to scrub in, connect the light area to our darker here. Kind of a little bit of a shadow kind of right at the bottom of that hill there. Right there. Hanging in there, hon? Mm-hmm. Good. Good. All right, so trying to see if I want to, I probably want to go ahead and start putting some flowers in before I get too much farther down here in the layering. And I want to finish my greenery and then do the flowers, because the ones that are back here are going to look like they're pasted on top. So I want to actually do some greenery over the tops of the bottoms of the flowers as we work our way down. So I'm going to go ahead and continue finish this kind of area in here. But I want to keep it fairly random still. I don't want to get too detailed quite yet, because I want to be sure we put some greenery over the top of our flowers too. Okay. I'm literally just smushing this brush around, scrubbing it, creating random shapes. But having this dark and more vibrant green down here, and then the duller colors, more blue, gives you that perspective there. Okay, let's switch to a little bit smaller brush here. I'm going to switch to the angle brush here now. The 1/4 inch angle. I'm going to go ahead and put in our rocks. And those are going to be the gray, so I'm going to use the Ultramarine Blue and the Burnt Umber for that. Pretty much 50-50. And then white. And you can tell the undertone when you add the white. It looks, it might look a little bit blue, so I can make another section over here that's got a little bit more of the brown. I have a little bit of area that's got more of the blue. And I want this value to be pretty close to the green that we've got going on here, so that's perfect. It should kind of show up but not be like in your face bright. So try to match that value pretty closely. And I'm going to just dab in some little pebbly type stuff. Really literally just kind of randomly dabbing in here. And then some of these areas there's going to be kind of some rocks sticking up. So I'm going to want to put the dark color in there. Kind of lay out some sort of flat shadows. And then as we get closer to the sun, add more of the white. We're still going to have some shadows, but they're not going to be as bright or dark. I mean, yeah, we had the air conditioner guy. I've never seen an air conditioner guy do what this guy did in my house. He literally pumped water in through, the pipe was clogged, and he went from outside with a hose and pumped water that was pouring out into my house. It's like, okay. Okay. We got the shop vac and tried to vacuum my carpet up, and like, that didn't work, dude. I mean, there's dirty water all over my carpet. But thankfully we're going to replace it hopefully soon, so I wasn't too worried about it. But I would have been pretty mad if if it was brand new carpet. Like, that was weird. Okay, so now going in with the lighter color. So I got some darker things going on here, and just gonna dab in some highlights, literally just kind of dabbing and not really worried too much about the shape, because these are pretty flat. They're not like sticking up real high. They're pretty much just kind of like stones that are sort of flat in the ground, it looks like, almost. I mean, they're sticking up a little bit, but it's not like really obvious big boulders, you know. So there's not a whole lot of shadows going on. It's just a lot of kind of random gray flat shapes. Some of them kind of connect up, and some of them, like in here, there's going to be some areas that are raised up, so I'm going to kind of put the highlight side, put some planes in there that are catching some light, but they're not really detailed. The AC is working. I'll deal with dirty carpet to have a working AC. So this summertime in Arkansas is too stinking hot for that.
Yeah, the humidity kicked in this week.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't bad up until this week.
Yeah. All right, so I'm getting pretty close here to where I want them to be. I'm going to put in some brighter kind of whitish spots here and there. Just kind of bright highlights, but this is pretty close to where I want. It's just very kind of random. You can tell they're rocks because they're gray and kind of, you know, I went back in and kind of added some greener around the bottoms of them too to kind of set them in a little bit. So some of these over here are going to be catching some light, and then we're going to start our flowers. So most of the rest of this is going to be flowers. going in here and adding some dark underneath some of these back in, settling them. Add a little bit of brown here, and there's some stones right in here that are sticking up out of the flowers. Okay. They kind of do this arc thing here too, so kind of keep that in mind when you're doing these. All right, let's add some green to that gray. Add some of that back in. Just some yellow. A little bit darker with my hillside greens too. A little bit of that burnt umber with the phthalo green here. Okay. Use this just vertically, kind of create some little vertical stems. Keep these all down in here. You do not want to go any farther up than that area. If you have really detailed stems way up here, it's going to ruin the perspective. Unless they come from the bottom up, then it'll look like, you know, they're real close to this. But if we have, you know, just some huge flower sticking way out here, it would like not make any sense. So just keep your stuff down here. That's obvious, I think. I don't know why I say stuff like that sometimes. It's like, they probably know that already. But, you know. All right, so let's start putting in some flowers. Yay.
Spot
2
time.
hours in.
That's why I came here.
I know. Like, came for the flowers. All right, so purple and pink. And I'm going to add a little bit of that fluorescent pink. That'll just brighten it up just a little bit more. Get a little more fuchsia colored. And this is, I find, one of the hardest, this fireweed color is one of the hardest colors to mix. I find it's just like there's not really a color in paint right now that'll do it justice. It's that fluorescent purple, maybe. I don't know. I don't have any fluorescent purple, so it's as close as we can get to it. I have a feeling this is mixing with my green a little bit too. We'll see.
We got another art question.
Okay.
They would like to know, do you ever varnish or use a medium when you finish paintings?
I do.
And if you do, So you said yes. Does it change the vibrancy of the final painting?
It does. It absolutely does. Depending on the kind you use, if you use a matte varnish, it'll dull your colors, and then if you use a gloss or satin, it'll brighten up your colors. So that's what I usually use. Right, added some white here, and right back in here, we're just starting to see some of these, and keep them again close to the value that we've got going on back here. So very small. Just using the tip of my brush to kind of draw these little lines way back in there. And then as we get closer to the bottom, we're going to get bigger with these. And they do go off in kind of different directions, so I don't have them all like pointing the same direction. Some of them are kind of more tilted than others. And then overlap your rocks a little bit. Push those back. And grab some of that darker purple color, do some in the darker. Add a little bit of the darker color below some of them to kind of shadow them. What are you laughing at?
Okay, they said, oh, wait, that's a game changer. What exactly is Angela painting on today? So it's the 10 by 10 wrapped canvas.
Yes. It's a Dixie cotton 10 ounce, I think. 12 ounce. Dixie cotton canvas from Fredrix Pro series.
Well, of course it's Pro. Duh. What I'm talking about.
Honestly, haven't noticed much difference between their Pro and Artist series. I'm not really sure if it's just the finishing or the what it is, but at least not in these ones. So, okay, so get to where you're kind of happy with what you've got there. Get, quite a few. And then what we're going to do is add our Stippler greenery around it, like I said, just to kind of settle those in. So I'm going to get the small Willows blender and some yellow, some of our green, mix in a little bit of the red. And then I'm going to grab some white too. Why am I whispering?
I'm not sure.
I don't either. I don't know why either.
Is it an artist secret?
I think so.
Okay.
Sneak up on this color.
Don't tell anybody.
Alright, so go in here and kind of go around these flowers and a little bit. Don't be afraid of kind of covering up a little bit of them. Just try to kind of make sure that it makes sense so that you're not like cutting off the tops of some of them. And we can go back in. We'll add more of the colors. I should have done that, the blue flowers too. Now I'm seeing, oh well. We'll get it. So we're just trying to kind of hit some highlights in here. And kind of settle those flowers in a little bit. How long did the poppy one take? I'm trying to remember. I don't feel like it took this long. I think it took a lot longer time on the sky than this one.
Let me check.
I really was hoping this would be a short one because I have that bonus video tomorrow. But no. No, it's not.
That one shows up as 2 hours, 36 minutes, and 12 seconds.
Okay, so we got another 15 minutes to finish this to match it.
But 20
I don't
minutes.
think that's going to happen, but won't be too much longer, hopefully, than that. We're getting close. Going back in with some dark colors as well.
The tank one was 58 minutes, 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. You want to do short videos?
Alrighty. Getting some white and yellow. Gonna do some kind of highlighted flowers in here. Just tapping in. I might use the, where's the angle brush? Oh, it's right here. Just stuck my fingers in water for no reason. Okay. There we go. Paint water on my fingers now.
You remember that commercial back in, I guess it was the 70s or 80s, for Dawn Dish Liquid? The lady's at the place getting her nails done, and she's soaking her hand. And
in Dawn. Yeah.
Soaking in Dawn.
Yeah. I do remember that. Very weird. Pretty sure that doesn't happen. Maybe it does. I don't know. I'll get texts from people if it does. Apologize if that's your thing. I'm not. No judgment. Adding some yellow flowers now. Cadmium yellow medium here. Add some over here. Let's use some of the, let's see, it's the Ultramarine Blue, white.
Or somebody said maybe it's palm olive, was it?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
I can't remember. Oh, okay. Got that wrong. So facts again. We're spot on.
Win. Alright, so also dabbing in. I've got a little bit darker blue and lighter blue on my brush here, so I've got kind of both, so just kind of two-toned. Dab, 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 dab. Little bitty blue flowers. And flowers tend to kind of cluster, so you can see how I did here. So, you know, do a little cluster of them and then kind of move on, leave a space, do another cluster. That'll make them look a little bit more natural and kind of keep them horizontal-ish too. That also helps with the perspective, because as they get farther away, they kind of flatten out, and, you know, the angle of them flattens out, so you're not seeing them. Even if it was a circle, you know, this way, as we get farther away, it's going to look more flat. Okay, it's got separation, and then there's a bunch more over here. Put them over the top of the other flowers, so they're kind of overlapping. And we'll put some more pink flowers back in again, and it'll all kind of come together, hopefully. Getting some of the darker blue here. This is so pretty. I love these colors. And even though our flowers down here don't have the orange from the sky much, I'm going to go ahead and add some of that down here just to unify it a little bit too. So when I do that, you'll know why I'm doing it. Okay, I'm going to wait for these ones here because I'm going to put some grasses right there. So I don't want to get too much farther down. Make it very light green color here. I'm going to use the flat of this angle brush and just tap in some grassy type shapes. As we get down here, we're gonna do them more obvious. I'm not going to go much higher than this little area down here with these long ones. And then we'll be adding flowers, obviously, in here too. I'm going to add just a few back in here. Keep them small. All right, and then I'm going to grab this pink. Hope. Oh, didn't dry on me. Put in some more of the pink. Trying to figure out the best brush to use. I don't know. This one seems to be doing okay, but it's not quite. So going a little bit brighter this time. Oliver, what are you doing?
He's not sure.
He's
zooming out.
yeah. Give him his medicine. Okay, so go and overlapping my flowers here. This is what'll give us that kind of depth too in our flowers. You need all of these kind of overlapping layers to get that feeling. This may end up being one of my favorite wildflower paintings we've done. I really like it so far. It's coming along pretty well. Okay, and then as we get closer, okay, need to clean that out. And then I need a little bit of the fluorescent. Ooh, brighten that up quite a bit. And then a little bit of the purple over here. Okay. Throwing some highlights on some of these. They're going to be kind of backlit, so like the tops and the sides will be more lit. As I get down to the bottom here, just making these bigger. Worked from the top down so that they overlap the flowers underneath or above them. Pushes those into the foreground and pushes these, or I should say opposite, pushes the ones that are overlapping into the background, and then these ones come forward visually. making sure I've got some depth in here with some darker pink mixed in. Where'd you go?
To feed the cat and turn on the oven.
For potatoes.
For baked potatoes, yep.
Yummy. I literally did not cook at all while you were gone. I know you're shocked. You're like, what? You mean you ate out every night while I was gone?
Seriously?
Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm.
My partner in crime, Spencer, even went and got the food for us.
So you paid and he went and picked up?
Yep.
What a team. And I come home from my business trip and I cook.
Yeah. No. Mark immediately went to the grocery store, picked the food. How we roll. I've always thought you'd be a better stay-at-home dad than I was a stay-at-home mom.
Well, if Patreon continues the way it is, I think I might be able to.
Nice. Okay, so let's use a little bit of the... I need to clean that out. I was mixing in more of that dark pink, but I just realized I wanted to put some of that sky color in. So let's go ahead and mix some of that quinacridone with the... make that salmony pink color that's in the sky. Wow, my paints are really drying. They're getting ugly.
Yeah, because the air conditioner just is.
Oh no, just born drying out. So I'm just going to put some random dots of this in here. They don't even have to make any sense, but I just want a little bit of this color in here. Pull that sky color down into the flowers. And use this bright pink here. I'm going to add more white to it. Add some. This is where I'm going to be kind of more strategic and like try to shape these out a little bit. Just these ones in the foreground here. So kind of create these kind of bell shapes. I probably could use my... This is what I was thinking about using this brush for. The round brush would be a little bit easier. Yeah. Get prettier rounded tips. Tops are kind of bent over, and they kind of went out almost like a foxglove. They may be foxgloves, I'm not sure. They look a little bit like the fireweeds that was in that polar bear painting. That's what I'm thinking they are, but colors is very similar. Alright, so I'm going to grab some of these darker, and there's some like little seed pods that are probably the spent flowers, or maybe, I'm not sure, might be grasses, but there's some of these little random dark spots here, so I'm going to get those in there. And then we need to put in more of our blue flowers over the top. Some white daisies, just a few. Ultramarine blue and white, if I can get some out there. There we go. Use both on the brush, so I have kind of a dark color on one side and a lighter color on the other. Yeah. Add just a little bit of the phthalo. No, I guess it's good. I'll leave it. Yeah, a little bit of phthalo blue. Okay. Just in a few of them. And these blue flowers are kind of clustered. They're not like cornflowers. They're kind of, I'm not sure, maybe forget-me-nots or something like that, where there's like a little ball of clustered blooms all together. I have some dark blue in there. Give it some contrast, like really dark. Okay. Well, it's so pretty. Pretty pretty. All right, so let's grab a little bit more of this white if I can get some that's clean. Scoop it around. There we go. There's some little yellow or white daisies in here too. Just a few of them, but we can plop those in there. And they're kind of facing up, so all we're seeing is the kind of side from them. Their petals are drooping down.
Have you used the fluorescent color yet?
Yeah, I mixed it in when I was doing the pinks.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Use a little bit of that.
Pay attention, people.
Yellow.
I'm not.
Don't really expect you to pay attention on your. Pretty much don't. Okay. So I'm going to lead the eye back around with this yellow too. So kind of adding some deeper yellow Here, add a little bit of that sky color to my yellow to give it a little bit of contrast. And then just pop in some of it in random spots. Around here, there's kind of a cluster here. And then down over here, there's kind of another cluster. So let's I'm going to use this one, I think. This will be interesting to see if we can get any of this thinned out enough to use in our with our liner brush here. There we go. We already did some grasses, so if you don't feel like you need to do this step, you don't have to, but just going over the top of some of our foreground area here. And then let's use this one, and we're going to dab in some yellow green. More vibrant yellow green leaves here and there. Just kind of coming off some of those flowers. Around the flowers, there's these little green leaves. And don't cover up all your dark areas, so just kind of be selective, because your eye is going to get drawn to these bright areas, so you don't want them everywhere, because otherwise your eye's not going to know where to fall. So this is just to kind of add a little bit extra detail. Gonna use a darker green here. And then I want to use some of this darker green with some glazing liquid. And just kind of glaze a little bit of it up in here. And kind of around the bottom of the stems to sort of darken them up where they go down into the grasses. Go down into the bottom of the canvas there. It'll help settle it. Okay. Yellow oxide and a little bit of that sky color there. And a little warmth to our hill there, a couple places. let's just kind of dab a little bit of this color here and there. There's not a whole lot of room left in our field. I pretty much filled it up completely with flowers, as I do. There's no room there for anything else. That's okay. That's how we like it. Teeny tiny. Blue flowers. Just adding some brighter highlights here and there. And this is really at the point where you can kind of start, you can stop at any point. I'm just kind of adding little final details here and there. I covered up some of these with some green that I didn't want turned to green, so adding some the color back in. And let's put in our sunburst. So I think this one, yeah, that's just yellow, which I don't want cadmium on my hands, so I'm going to wipe that off right now. Some of the colors I don't worry about getting on my skin, but cadmium's one I don't want to get on my skin. Alrighty, so I'm going to use the Deerfoot Stippler. I'm going to grab that yellow, cadmium yellow light. I'm going to actually use this while I got it out here. Wipe most of it off. Till it doesn't even look like there's any paint left in the brush. That's how you need it. You can see how much is coming off. You should have to scrub to get it to come off your brush. If it's coming out too thick, you've put too much on there. So there we go. I'm going to grab a little bit of white if I can get some. Actually, I'm going to use zinc white. That was not on my list, so sorry for adding it at the last minute, but zinc white will be more transparent. A little bit of glazing liquid. And the key to this is you do not want your lines to stop before they get to the brightest part of your pink canvas. So I've seen that happen with people that they do these sun effects and they have this right thing and then they start their sunbeams down here. That's not going to look right. So just connect it all the way up into that white part. That way it'll look right. And here I'm going with a little bit more paint on my brush because this zinc white is transparent. So I'm just going back over my yellow now that I just put on. Adding this glow, additional glow over the top. It's going to lighten it up even more. Okay. It's pretty close to where we want it. And if we decide we need some more yellow, we can go a little bit thicker with it, but I'd rather start light than, put too much on it first. It's going to be harder to get it off. So if I want more yellow, I'm going to go in a little bit thicker this time. You still use some glazing liquid to thin it out though. I literally have no space left on my canvas here. My paint's getting all sticky. Not space on my canvas, space on my palette. So you may decide you need to put out fresh paint at this point. It probably would have been a good idea, but I don't want to dirty up a whole new palette. Alright, I'm pretty close here. I'm pretty happy with this. What do you think, hun? Does anybody see anything that they want that I missed? Sometimes people see things that I don't.
I saw the mountains.
Okay, well, I saw those, so I guess we're okay. You can bring your glow out as far as you want. If you get it, you know, too much on there, you can always kind of wipe it back with a cloth in places, but make sure you get it while, you know, it's wet and everything. I like it. I think it's good. I think I want to go with just a little pop of bright white right in the center there, just to really bring out that bright glow of the sun.
That part of your palette is off screen.
It isn't? Okay.
It's barely on there.
Just getting white here. This is regular white, not zinc white. And that was too much paint, so I'm going to wipe that all the way off and then rub around the sides of it. There we go. Pull off that extra there. Let me see. Trying to find a, there we go.
What did you find?
The 1/4-inch Willows blender. And I'm kind of zigzagging this white around because it's not a perfect circle, so I don't want it to look like a little round dot on my canvas. And then I'm going to tap in some random highlights out here so that it looks like there's some stuff that's picking up the light. Alright, I think, plus I might do a little bit more. The cadmium yellow light. And cadmium yellow light has got a much more vibrant hue than the cadmium yellow medium, which is a lot more warm yellow. This has got more of a lemon yellow tone, almost a greenish yellow. So it's really nice for these bright sun effects. Okay. Boom. Ooh, hit that with bright white right there. And again, make sure that it kind of comes up over the top of our horizon line there. All right, I'm going to call that good. Let's sign it. Super chat.
Yes, we had a couple super chats today.
Really?
Yes, we had our first one is from Darlene, and she says, "This is so beautiful.
Aww.
Thanks for the beautiful painting and fun chat. I love this group. You too, Angela and Mark."
Oh, thank you.
And then the second one was from Lori, and she says, "Amazing sky today. Thanks for sharing your talent and inclusion in your community. Thanks for answering my questions. This one will be a challenge."
Yeah. Yeah, I think the sky is a little bit more challenging than most of the ones we've done before, or some of the ones, but I think it's doable. It's just, you could see how many layers it took me. You know, it took me probably 5 layers at least to get some of the colors just the way, I wanted them. So,
so
don't give up. If you don't like it, just keep working on it. That's all you need to do. Don't give up in the ugly stages. I think that's where a lot of artists kind of get frustrated and they give up. And, it's just not finished. So
thank you, Lori.
And don't feel like if you... yes, thank you.
Lori and Darlene.
Thank you, Lori and Darlene. Y'all are awesome. Helped pay for our steaks that Mark bought for dinner tonight.
His welcome back dinner he's making himself.
Exactly. Hey now.
You're an all-star.
Okay. I got that.
That will always remind me of the time we tried out for the Nickelodeon show.
Is that what they played?
They were playing it as like warm-up music for the...
I do remember that now that you say that. It reminds me of the Olympics because the Winter Olympics came out that year and that song was popular. All right. I am just adding a little bit more in that. I don't want to do too much back in here though because it's got that glow, so I don't want to mess our glow up. But
if you're new to Angela's channel, when she says that she's done, that's not real.
Okay.
Even after she signed it, she's
okay.
Because what we didn't have was enough flowers, so we could still see some green in the front here. So we're adding some more colors.
Just stop. All right. Just adding some brighter pops there. And, oh, yeah, we were going to show our goodies that we got this week. So let me move that aside. So here's their side by side. You can zoom out a little bit there. Yeah, isn't that fun?
Here, let me...
Oh, yeah, take that off. There you go. Yeah, so there's our two... I feel like I probably should have come up a little higher with the flowers up in here. I'm seeing now that I kind of stayed kind of low with them, so I probably could have brought those up a little bit higher. But yeah, I like them. Of course, it's not the same sky at all, but I think that they'll look kind of good side by side. And I think I want to do some more in this series too. So if you liked it, give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment. Let me know if you want to see more from this flower field series. I think it's kind of fun. I really like them, so hopefully you guys will too. Try it, paint it, all that good stuff. You can share it with me on my social media if you do. Got all the links down in the description for those. But we've had this thing going on called Magnets for Mark for several months now. We got rid of Mark's hobo fort of boxes that he was using as a sound booth. And sorry, I'll let you look at the painting while I'm cleaning my hands off. I wanted to do this because somebody sent us something really special and I don't want to get paint on it. Well, they're all special, but there's one thing that in particular that I don't want to get paint on. Anyhow, they been sending us magnets from all over the world. It's been really awesome. This week I got some goodies just for me, though.
What?
Yeah, I know. It's pretty sweet. I actually cried when I got this one, but I'll show you in a minute. All right, so Cheryl Taylor sent us a Texas magnet. Awesome. Yay.
Yeah, baby.
Love it. Just like our cow that we painted. Well, ours was a Highland cow, but still.
Right, that one's a longhorn.
Love it.
Nice.
So thank you, Carol. Is it Carol? Yeah, Cheryl. Sorry.
Cheryl.
That's my name's problem for you. Barbara Zabrowski she sent me a really awesome bookmark, which I think I'm going to stick a magnet on actually and stick it back over here because I use my tablet so much now. I don't use bookmarks as much, but I love this. It's so pretty. Mm-hmm. And then a Wisconsin magnet for Mark. So thank you to Barbara. And both of them sent really sweet cards too. And then Patty Naboski, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. She sent me these teas, which yay, finally. So I sent some for me. No.
I think it's Nabosny.
Nabosny?
I think so.
I think that's right. She actually already sent Mark some magnets, so I think she was feeling bad that I was left out, and she sent me some tea. and they're really cool. If I can get this bag open. They are like you just drop it into hot water, and they're different types of tea. And I guess they dissolve and make tea. So I'm really excited about these.
Yeah.
Plus they're pretty shapes. So hello. And there's different kinds, different colors. So thank you, Patty. I'm really excited about trying this. Okay, and then this one is really special because it's handmade. And this one's from Marie Middleton. This one at Mommy Cry. She sent, look what she made. Oh, it's cashmere. And it's got a little bell. Oh my gosh, this is the sweetest thing ever. It's so precious. I love it. So this is definitely going up in the studio somewhere where I could see it. I think probably up here by my little bird that Mark got me for Christmas a couple years ago. I can pull that down. Sorry, I'm getting in the shot here. It's our little bird here. Oh, and then, yeah, our tank that...
We'll put the cat with the tank. I think they go well.
Oh, the cat's on the tank?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe we should. She's riding the tank.
See, there you go.
That is pretty sweet. I think that was Cat Warren that sent the tank. So, yeah, and this one was from an artist. Mark actually bought that one. So
Yeah, from England, yeah.
From England, yeah. I can't remember the name. Let's see.
I follow her on Facebook all the time.
Bobby Robin from Tinny Pocock?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a felt bird. So shout out to Tinny. But thank you. I love my little kitty. Cashmere is so sweet. So Marie, thank you. And anybody who sends the magnets and things in to the studio, we've been sending them a thank you little goodie bag of little magnets and stickers and stuff. So the link is down, or our address is down in the description too for that. If you want to send us some stuff, we'll shout you out on air. I'm going to go ahead and add some. I know this is...
Oh my goodness.
I know. Just don't look over here. I'm just going to do it really quick. I'm going to add a bunch of yellow to it so that it's thinned out, but I really need to... It's bugging me that this is not up higher, so I'm going to add some little flowers up here.
So while she does that, we'll talk about Patreon.
Oh, yeah.
So over there on patreon.com/AngelaFineArt, you'll find access. They got all types of different levels. A $1 level, access to the traceables.
Mm-hmm.
$5 is the traceables and the bonus video that we'll be doing tomorrow.
Yes.
And then there's a $10 level, which is all of that, plus also access to another Facebook group, Taking Flight, where Angela does more tutorials, answers questions, takes polls. And
next month we are going to be doing, starting this Tuesday or this Thursday and working through August until they're done is going to be our Princeton brush videos. So we're going to be doing brush videos for their website on Princeton brushes. So showing how to use all the different brushes, and they're going to get to see my behind the scenes recordings of those videos for Princeton. So that should be fun.
Very, very
see me
nice.
Figure out how to use some of the brushes that I'd never used before. So
it's pretty cool.
And teach how to use them. Yeah. So hopefully that'll work out for everyone involved, including me. All right. Just adding little bits here. I'm not sure if I like this.
And then also,
it's all getting squirrely on me.
There's the thankfulart.com website. Go there. It helps make things easier finding traceables for the different videos.
So if you're a patron and you're frustrated because you can't find things on Patreon, then go to my website. It's way easier. You can find the traceables that way. And then if you go to the traceables file and you're like, that's good, but I want the reference photo, if you're like one of my $5 people, and you also get the reference photos, what you can do is underneath each traceable post, there's a tags that link to other posts that have the same tags. So just adding little bits of yellow so that it all kind of goes together there. And that's much better. I think it's got a little bit more depth. But yeah, the thankfulart.com. So at Patreon, underneath the post, there'll be little word tags. So like for this one, it will say sunset field or sunset. And then if you click on the sunset name on the traceable or whatever, it'll take you to all the other paintings that have sunsets in the title in my posts on Patreon. And so anyhow, it makes it a little bit easier to find stuff. A little shortcut. All right. Thanks guys so much. I think we're done. We'll be back tomorrow for a watercolor painting for our patrons for the $5 level. So you still have time to sign up for that if you want to join our live show. And the Crowdcast link is in our schedule. So any of the posts that I've been posting that have the schedule, the Crowdcast link is there. And you should also get a reminder from Crowdcast once you've signed up for that tomorrow. All right. So it'll be 2 p.m. Hopefully we'll see you there. And thanks for joining us today. Bye.